Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Tattoo Homeworkers, a podcast where we talk about tattoos, life, and everything in between. My name is Callista, and this is...
I don't have a name today.
Lou. This is Lou. And today we're here to talk about Pride. Because, you know what? Shout out to Hedge. We actually had no idea what the fuck we were going to say or talk about for this episode. And he was like, Pride. And we were like, duh, obviously. Well, it's Pride Month, June. But for Reno, Pride Month is actually in July.
Yes.
Which I fucking love. That's one of the things I love about Reno. We get two prides, technically.
Yep.
Got Pride for everyone else, and then Pride for us.
In South Carolina, it's in September.
What?
Yeah, because we actually adopted Guinness at Pride, and that was in September.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, me and Guinness are both Virgos.
It doesn't mean she was born in September.
Okay, little off topic. Wait, are Pride months like different for the most part?
No, it's that like June is Pride Month. It's just that like the Pride celebration, like the Pride Festival, will happen like different weekends, so that way like performers and other individuals can celebrate it throughout the whole like summer. It's also just a great way of just being like, okay, well, it's forever fucking Pride.
Yeah, and I don't want to have to pick either, because I don't want to have to pick between giant festivals, right? Like there's San Francisco Pride, there's Chicago Pride, which surprisingly is fucking phenomenal. Yeah. We had such a good time, and then there's our Pride, which holy shit. Yep. I'm really fucking excited for.
It is July 22nd for anyone who wants to come out. Even if you don't want to come by and visit us in our booth. And we'll talk a little bit more about our booth and like what we're going to be doing there. Yeah. Because Pride is one of our favorite days of the year.
100%.
We're already like preparing for it. We've been like...
If you've been following our social media, you know that we've made like an obscene amount of bracelets. Obscenely. Yeah. But I mean, as per usual,
and
we're
giving
stickers,
all that jazz.
Yes, we're giving out plenty of goodies. We're selling stickers. Our portfolios will be there for you guys to flip through. But more importantly, we're also going to be interviewing people for Pride.
You can be on the podcast.
Exactly. So I'm really, really fucking excited for that. We got some silly questions for you guys, and we got hella goodie bags, like free shit on free shit on free shit. So please stop by. But like you said, you don't have to either. Just come by and enjoy Pride.
Yeah, just come out and enjoy the parade, enjoy Pride, walk around, support vendors, just like show your face so you're supporting the community. And then just to be clear, you don't have to be like queer to come out and celebrate Pride. So
you're not fun either way.
Yeah, you don't have to be like, oh no, I'm not gay. You can still just come out and celebrate it. Caboose is like mostly straight. Yep. And he comes out to Pride and like helps and celebrates it and like walks around and enjoys it.
Yeah, there's fun for literally everyone. It's just such a welcoming, wonderful community. Yeah. And so just stop by, watch the festival, or watch the parade, and then there's vendors everywhere, free shit everywhere, y'all.
And there's lots of shows. We've got, I think they do 3 stages here in Reno. So there's like different performers. Yep. So you have drag, you've got like... I think they had a comedian at some point. They had like lots of local like singers performing.
There's food there too.
Yeah.
So there's like hella vendors for food. Either way, it's just a wonderful summertime event, and we're stoked to go out there. It's gonna be so fun.
What's your favorite part about being at Pride?
My favorite part about being at working Pride is probably, oh my gosh. God, I don't want to cry this early on in the episode. How many wonderful people we meet that come back into our lives either via DMs or like they get tattooed by us and they're like, we met you at Pride. And how many people tell us that like us showing up really meant a lot to them, and it meant that they felt safe being in our chairs.
Yeah.
And just how much encouragement we get, because through us being brave also opens the doors up for other people being brave and being themselves. So that's my favorite part about working Pride. Other than also, selfishly, love crafts, love giving away free shit. I get so excited when people take the things that I make.
And we're like, you want this? Oh my God.
Take it away. Yeah. How about you? What's your favorite part about working Pride?
Yeah, it's the community. I love being face to face with people who I feel safe with. And I know that like we feel safe like for them. Yes. And then the same thing, like in order to like show them like, hey, like getting tattooed when you are a queer individual can be terrifying because it is incredibly vulnerable. And then being somewhere where you're like, hey, now I know that this person is safe It's great. And honestly, like I just get along better with queer people. So I know that like the clients that I get from that are ones that I'm going to resonate more because I think it's just that like we've all been through that together. So you know that we're going to have more to connect on.
100%.
No hate on straight people. My husband's a straight person. But like, yeah, you just like have that like intrinsic like, hey, we already have this connection.
Yeah, 100%.
And then I also, I love meeting the kids.
Oh, yeah. They're
like,
great.
Yeah. I feel bad every time that they like flip through the portfolio and then it gets to like the weird, dirty stuff. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. That's not meant for children. And then selfishly, I love people looking through like the artwork that I create because that's something that I don't get to like see. And I create such like specific artwork and it's very much based off of people's reactions. Yeah. So when people flip through and they're like, oh, a butterfly, ha ha, that's hilarious. Or like my panda that says I'm a panda and it's got a pansexual flag and like just people getting like the puns of it and then like seeing the reactions when it's something really like cute but gross. And like when they go and grab friends, like, look at this shit. Like it makes me as an artist feel like valued because so often here I don't feel valued as an artist for it's like
hard to meet our people.
Yeah, to get people that like see my artwork and they're like, fuck yeah, I connect with this. So Pride is like one of the only day of the year that I feel like I get that feeling from people where I'm like, man, my artwork actually like people understand it.
I will say as someone who is born and raised in this city, I don't very often feel connected to this community because there is not a lot of community-based things that I go and do. And part of that is my fault, but also part of that is like just not knowing that they're going on. That's the hardest part too, is like I think the exposure in like as far as events go for Reno is like really hard to get into and it's hard to like, I don't know, like be aware that like there's a festival going on. Like, holy shit, most times we're too late, you know?
Yeah. I mean, not to, put anyone on blast here, but like we were trying to find the specific times of like when the parade is and when the festival starts and went to the Reno, like Northern Nevada Pride, like their website, which we'll put the link in the show notes, but they didn't even have the like times listed there. Like every page just links you back for want to volunteer, want to be a vendor.
Yeah.
And so it's hard here specifically because like finding those to be like, okay, well, when are events happening?
Yeah.
Usually you can't find it unless you know someone that knows the details of it.
Absolutely. So it's hard to get into. And I'm very grateful that like Pride, for the most part, we always know when it's going to go on. But I would love to do more festivals in Reno. So if you know anyone in Reno who's like an event coordinator or like knows like a resource where we can see all these events, that would be so fabulous. So
that would be great.
Go out and get to know you guys more. But yeah, Pride is just truly special to me because I feel like we get to meet more people who are like us.
Yes,
you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Do you remember your first Pride?
My first Pride.
I mean, you're a lot younger than me, so you've probably not been to as many Prides.
So, fun fact, my first Pride was the only Pride that I haven't worked.
Nice.
Yes. Yeah. And I think I was 17 at the time. I was pretty young. 17. And I went with one of my best friends at the time. And we just went just to go and check it out. And I ended up having a fucking blast. Like, everyone there was so kind and welcoming. And everyone just like, this is very big for me. And I know it might sound superficial, but they just wore whatever the fuck they wanted. Whatever made them feel confident.
I don't think that's superficial at all. That's one of the things I love about Pride is you can just show up wearing whatever the fuck you want.
Whatever the fuck you want.
Like, the more ridiculous, the better.
100%. And so it was just such an eye-opening experience. And like all the vendors were just giving away free stuff. And I remember that too, because it just was like, wow, this is like all free. And they're like, yeah, we're just showing up. So that way, you guys get like exposure pamphlets to like safe places to access for STD screenings, STI screening, whatever the fuck, it was just fucking awesome. And yeah, I had a really good time.
And was that here in Reno?
It was here in Reno. Yes.
Nice.
What was your first Pride like?
I have always worked Pride. So I was probably 19 or 20. It was like I guess I was 20. It's like right when we first like the first Pride after we opened the studio, and I worked it. And there's a picture of me somewhere on the internet, and I have little fairy wings and little tiny little like wannabe space buns, but they weren't big enough. So they're like little cute antennas of hair. And my multiple spaghetti straps, because that was the fashion back then.
Of course.
And a tiny little denim cutoff skirt and giant ass platform boots.
Oh, yeah.
And I worked a booth. And like typically out there, we would also do a float. So we did walking once, and then from then on, we always got a float.
How was working it? Were you nervous? Were you excited? Were you like, what were you expecting?
Honestly, I wasn't expecting like anything. Like, I don't even remember what we did. I know we would like sometimes draw on people, and like over the years, like it just changed so much. We always just had portfolios out, but it was just there to talk to people. And it was great because same thing, like the fashion really had a lot to do for me as well, because I felt like I could wear whatever I wanted, and I saw lots of people wearing whatever.
Yeah.
And it felt like a true like place of expression. And then, yeah, like I said earlier, a couple of years after that, like Caboose came with me, and like he would be on our floats. My favorite memory of him at Pride is he was on our float, and we did a play on it is not Sailor Jerry. It's, I can't remember Norman Rockwell, the famous painting of the tattooist. And I was like pretending to tattoo him, like dressed up like in, like that type of like clothing. And we basically recreated those scenes. And he was in his sailor attire with one of my other clients.
God.
And then he was walking around like to get done from the float to come and grab his clothes. And it was so cute because he like came up and he's like, I was walking, and this guy's like, oh yes. He's like, and I just was like walking like, what? And he's like, work it. And he felt so fucking confident. And it's so cute because every year, like obviously he's a very attractive man, and he comes to Pride and inevitably he gets hit on. And every single time he's always like, just so excited that he got hit on. Yeah. And then he always also gets really awkward because then he's really shy.
Yeah.
And he feels really bad being like, that's my wife. I'm really like he feels apologetic for being straight.
I'm so sorry. I'm straight.
He's like, I'm so sorry. But he's so flattered every time that he's like, oh my gosh. And like, no lie, for like the next week after Pride, he's always just like, yeah, I'm great. Thanks.
I love that. Well,
that's fabulous.
One of the things I fucking love about this community is that it's so supportive. Everyone's like, God, the second like they see that they like your outfit, like they make it your business to know. And I'm like, I don't know, I just never feel more loved than I do in the queer community.
Yep.
Fuck, dude. Yeah. What was your gay awakening story? I would love to hear it.
I don't know that I had like an awakening story.
I don't think anyone does. I think it's always like a slow burn.
Yeah, right? I like always knew.
Yeah.
And then like growing up, my aunt, who was our next door neighbor, she was gay. And so like that just, I didn't necessarily know anything was like wrong with it or that it was weird or anything, because I loved my Aunt Kate so much.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, and I loved her partner as well. And so I just thought that was normal. But I mean, I had your typical, like, crushes, like Red Sonja. Holy shit, gorgeous. Fucking Xena. And Gabrielle from Xena.
Did you know at a young age that you were attracted to them? Or did it first present as like, oh, I just like love this character?
Oh, no. Xena in that fucking armor. And then Gabrielle in her crop top torn off fucking cloth like top. Nah, dude. I was like, still the same feeling I have where I'm like, I don't know if I want to be you or if I want to be with you.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I honestly was more surprised when I discovered my attraction to men.
Oh my gosh.
That was a lot more surprising for me. The same way that like when I came home with a boyfriend, Hedge was like, oh, a boyfriend? Which is still like most of the time people's reaction to me when I'm like, yeah, I have a husband.
Yep.
And my clients would be, oh, okay. You have a husband.
Yep.
Which I honestly love because I'm like, I'm way more attracted to like women than I am men. Yep. But even then I'm just attracted to a person. Like I don't necessarily care about like what's going on. But like just, yeah, like I definitely was more surprised. And I was like, oh, because most of the dudes that I was attracted to were fairly feminine. Like I loved like young Leonardo DiCaprio. But then on the polar opposite side, like my first like love as a child was like Duncan MacLeod from Highlander, and he's like a man's man. So I've always been like, it's really interesting actually, because I've always, when I was younger, it was on the extreme levels where you either needed to be like super feminine with like big boobs and like very like even though Xena was like a badass, she like exuded femininity, or I needed you to be like a man's man. And then as I got older, I was like, okay, fuck it. Like everyone's attractive.
Yep.
Like it's all about the person. And I realized like that was the thing, is that like all those characters, what was attractive about them wasn't necessarily the like body they were in, but it was more them like owning who they were. And like that to me was like my kind of like gay awakening of being like, oh no, you're just attracted to like people who are confident.
Did you ever have like a coming out, or was it just like, no, this is it?
No, I don't think I had to, because I mean, it was your typical like tomboy type of like wore jeans and like my dad's shirts and like I said, mine was very much the opposite side, where I was like, I have a boyfriend, and my dad's there like, oh, okay. And like for sure, I think he actually said like, oh well, that's a phase, that won't last.
Yeah.
Because he was like, that's never gonna work out.
Yeah. I think
and then I married a man, much to my surprise, but he's fucking perfect, so
yeah, they're
stuck.
He ruined your perfect gay life.
He did.
Is what I like to say.
He did ruin my perfect gay life.
I used to say that a lot about whenever I would like date men. It was always like, oh, you're ruining my perfect gay life.
Yep.
Yeah, that's very different from me, because I feel like I definitely am more attracted to men. But growing up, after hearing you say that like you knew someone who was gay and it was always normal for you, I realized that I never, as a child, knew anyone who was gay. I was brought up as Filipino Catholic, so it was very like not okay thing. And I remember like in my childhood, my parents aren't like this now, but there was like overt like homophobia in my childhood. And thank God, again, like my parents really did grow with the times, and they came to a point where like it wasn't like anything to be hush hush about. But that was like a very slow transition. I think like I remember being in middle school and telling my dad that one of my friends is bi, and he like immediately was just like, well, he's too young to know that. And I was like, okay, well, he is. So there's that. Very firm about it. And then it was like mid high school, he was just like, oh yeah, no, that makes sense. Like it was a weird cultural shift that happened within those few years.
Yeah.
Where then my dad was just like, no, that's wrong. Like people are allowed to be bi or gay or whatever the fuck. And for the longest time, I never thought that like I had my suspicions that I was attracted to women, because when you grow up in such a closed off community and not having this conversation, I'm really grateful that I grew up with the internet for that, because I could seek out answers, especially because I was like in a household where I didn't feel comfortable asking that. Because again, we were very heavily Catholic. I was forced to go to church every Sunday up until I turned 18. And, you know, we had school and whatever. But besides like the blatant homophobia in Catholicism, I just didn't feel safe to like ask those questions. And so the internet kind of opened this door of like, yeah, bisexuality is a thing, being queer is a thing, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, I had my suspicions. But I always grew up like thinking it was normal to want to kiss like girls. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that's like where we all start, is like, we're like, no, that's like normal.
Yeah.
Like, I have a harder time being like, wait, so like, you're not attracted like with Caboose. I'm like, you don't see a man and you're like, oh man, he's really attractive. He's like, well, I can see that. He's like, but I don't have like a desire to touch him. And I'm like at all, like even if you know he's hot. And he's like, no, I've never had a desire to kiss a man. Yeah. I'm like, that's fucking weird to me.
Isn't that crazy?
Because I'm like, everyone has those desires. And he's like, nope, they don't.
Yeah, totally thought it was normal to like want to like randomly kiss your friends. And not in like a weird way, just like
like you're just being a perv over there like,
yeah, I'm just gonna kiss all my friends. No, it was just like, I just thought it was perfectly normal to like have a normal interaction with your friend and just have the passing thought of like, wow, she's really pretty. Like, I wonder what it would be like to kiss her.
Yeah.
You know? And then the thought
you're just a gay kid.
Yeah, I was just gay.
Yeah.
And then I think what had happened was I found out that I was bisexual just through doing some inner work and realizing that like it's okay to be bi and it's okay to like do all that. And then the deprogramming of like Catholicism wasn't hard for me because I started that when I was like 14.
Yeah.
And I was forced to go to a pro-life march when I was 14. And I like knew immediately that was the nail in the coffin for me. Yeah, I was forced to participate as a child.
That's so fucked.
It was awful. Yeah. And that was a nail in the coffin for me where I was like, this isn't my religion. This these aren't my people. Like, I am not for this. Like, I don't want anything to do with this. So that deprogramming started, and then I started to be more okay with the fact that I'm bisexual.
Yeah.
And then for the longest time, I didn't think it was necessary for me to come out purely because of, what is that thing called? It's like when someone wants you to do something and your ADHD is like, fuck no, I'm not going to do it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I totally, defiance syndrome or whatever.
Yep.
It was out of pure defiance syndrome that I didn't want to come out to my parents, because I was like, fuck that. Like, if straight kids don't have to come out, then I shouldn't have to either. And my parents kind of always knew too, because I remember in my childhood, when I was playing house, I'd always be the husband. And my parents asked me when I was a kid, like, do you like girls? And I was like, no, because I didn't know. I had no idea. And then the way I came out to my dad, I just straight up told him that, like, I had a date with a girl. And he didn't even bat an eyelash. He was just like, at first he was like, oh, okay. But then, like, just totally followed normal conversation.
And then started roasting you.
Then started roasting me because he was
the
like, well,
same way he would if
I were dating a guy.
Yeah, it was amazing.
It was just like seamless, so seamless for him. And again, like I said, I'm really grateful that like my parents like totally grew with the times with that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't know. I guess I never really thought about that because like my Barbies were all lesbians together, and like. That was it. Like
that was normal. Lesbian colony.
Yeah. Like I had like one Ken, but like I don't know. He only had like a couple outfits, and they kind of sucked. And like I would go steal my brother's like
was
G.I.
he like
Joes.
the busboy of the mansion? Like
essentially, like yeah. But like my other Barbies were like paired up together, so they were like in committed relationships. And then like sometimes like people would cheat, and then it would be like, okay, like we have to sit down and have a powwow because like you can't sleep with her because you're in a committed relationship.
Barbie drama.
But yeah, but I like
it was the ultimatum, but for Barbie.
It was. I had the Barbie ultimatum. It was like, are we going to move into this house together?
Straight up.
Or not? Yeah. So I always had like gay Barbies, and I guess I never realized like how great like my parents did on that, where they didn't like shame me for that. So I think that's why I never had to like come out, because it was like, okay, but like this little kid is obviously gay as fuck. It was
like a normalized thing.
Like,
in your household.
So it wasn't like, I remember in 7th grade, so I was 12, and I was so mad that my mom wouldn't get a girlfriend. That I was like, I just wish you just had a girlfriend, because she had boyfriends, and like, you know, my dad would be on deployment and she had like a multitude of boyfriends, but would never have a girlfriend. And I was like, it would be great if you had a girlfriend.
And it doesn't
like,
make any sense.
That would make me so cool if you had a girlfriend. I'm like, but you won't have a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And that's annoying.
It's annoying me that you're straight.
Yeah.
Oh
well,
God.
I mean, she's definitely not. But yeah, I think just because like I don't I mean, my aunt definitely had to like deal with a lot of like hard times because she was gay, and it was the 90s in England. But I think that like that's that part of me, the same way like you kind of like refuse to accept negativity about your body, that I refuse to accept like negativity about that. It wasn't until I decided to get married that then at that point it was that shift where I was like, you can't say you're queer anymore because you're married to a man.
Tell me about
and
that
that
journey.
was the hard like shift of like the community was very like at that stage was very rejecting of it. I think that's also why I fight, like, not to make this about me, because trans individuals deserve fucking rights no matter what.
Yeah.
But it's why that like hits a chord with me so much, is that like the community that is designed to like love us and protect us, like when they reject people, it like fucking just hurts me on such a personal level, because I felt that rejection where my queer friends were like, you're not gay, you're not a lesbian anymore. Because like when I was little, I was like, oh, I'm a lesbian. And then I had a really hard adjustment when I was like, you're attracted to boys. And I grew up where like at the time that I was like would have been considered bi, I hated that word. I was like, I'm not bisexual. Like, because like I knew bi as being a 50-50 split. And I was like, but it's not a 50-50 split. We know this inside of us. And bi felt so foreign to me. So then when I married a man, I felt like I was betraying the gay side of me and the queer side of me. And I was like, and I have to hide that from him because like he's going to feel like insecure about that. Little do I know my husband's fucking totally fine with it, thinks it's attractive. But yeah, like I like remember as I was like walking down the aisle that I was like, you have to say you're straight now. Like that's it. And it felt so oppressive because the community at that stage was shoving out like you are betraying people if you are marrying straight.
100%. I think there was a lot of...
And it was like a choice of like an easier life is like the thing that I kept being told was that I was making the easy choice.
There was a lot of like rejection for the bisexual and the pansexual community for a really long time, coming from like the queer community, which is so... I mean, obviously upsetting. It was coming from the queer community, coming from the straight community. And even now it's like being filtered out. Luckily, I haven't met a lot of individuals that have really ticked my fucking shit with like me being bisexual. But that was a big deal because there was a cultural shift that happened when people were like, no, bi visibility is important. This is real. Yeah. People like this exist. And like the jokes of like, no, you guys need to pick one. Or like, you're just being selfish is what I've heard. Or fuck, like, before I slept with women, I had men asking me how I knew I was bi if I never had sex with women, as if me having sex with women was supposed to validate anything. Yeah. And just because now that I've like had sex with women, that it pisses me off thinking that somehow that's a trump card to be like, no, but like officially I'm bi, as if the bisexuality police is going to come by and take the card away unless you sleep. No, fuck you guys. If you know that you're bi and you've never slept with someone of the same gender, that's fucking valid. Yeah. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. And if they ask you about your sexual history, sorry, I'm going off on a tirade.
Nope, this is a beautiful tirade. Yes, 100%.
I'm so angry at people who think that it's okay to invalidate people for knowing something so personal and so real.
Well, and it's intrinsic. That's my thing, is that you know it the same way that you know you like other things. I don't need to eat every single fucking flavor of ice cream to know that mint chocolate chip is my fucking flavor. I don't need to be like, okay, well, let me taste this, and this. Nah, bitch, I love mint chocolate chip. That's it. Like, it's as simple as that.
Yeah, I try to, when I got asked that question, I finally came up with like the perfect response. And it was always straight men asking me this, just so y'all are aware. When I'm like, yeah, I'm bisexual. And they'd be like, well, how do you know that like you are if you haven't had sex with women? I always ask them the same question. How did you know you were attracted to women when you were a virgin? And they're always like, and I'm like, exactly the same way that I knew. Like, fuck you. And it's so silly because it's like, you don't need to go out and do these things to be any less valid than the next person. Delete that idea from your fucking brains, please. Yep.
Same as if you don't do it, it doesn't mean that, like, that's not a part of who you are.
Exactly.
And if you do it, it also doesn't mean that's a part of who you are. Just because you slept with somebody at some point doesn't mean you're like, oh, shit, I am, like, hey, I'm gay because I slept with a man once and I'm a man. No, dude, if that's not something that you identify with, then that's it. Because, like, for me, I identify as being gay and queer. Those are my two words that, like, that's it. Gay always felt correct to me.
Yep.
Lesbian felt correct, but it felt really like, I don't know, it like didn't feel like exactly 100%. It was like getting into like a too tight of shirt where I was like, ugh.
Right.
And straight always felt like I was just like wearing the wrong outfit.
When people assume that I'm straight, it's so crazy to me. I'm always like, oh.
I think it's why when people assume I'm gay, I'm like, oh no, thank you so much. Like, and I see that moment on their face. They're like, oh, whoops. And I'm like, no, but I am. Like, my husband's the exception to that rule. And like, would I change his body if I could? Probably. But it's okay because he's perfect and I love him just the way he is. But also, like, nah, like, that's the thing is that, like, even, like, when I was with you, like, trying to figure out, like, okay, I guess I'm pansexual because I don't really care and I fell in love with people. But then I was like, but that word also just doesn't sit with me because I can't ever not think of crockery. And I just think of pots and pans. Like, it's too literal of a word for me. But I'm like, I'm not into, like, pans. Or like pandas, so like this is confusing, but like queer and gay were the words that I was like, this is it. Like this is my definition. Like I am gay.
Yes.
And it felt like this thing that I like had to prove. And even now, like when I'm talking to clients that I'm like, yeah, you know, as a queer individual, and you'll see some of them when I'm like, yeah, my husband. And then you can see that little bit of them be like, oh, so you're like a poser. And I'm like, this is fuck off, man.
Yeah. For like a community that like, again, I think the one thing that makes this community so special and so strong and powerful, by the way, is the support of people who are queer and gay. And those are those umbrella, like big terms that like means everyone. Yeah. Everyone in this community. Your sexuality is supposed to be fluid. You're allowed to also be rigid in it if you truly want to be rigid. That's fine. But like, you need to be there for your girls, gays, and theys. Like,
yes.
you need to be there for them.
Yes.
And it's simple. I don't know. It's just, it hurts me too. It wounds me because I think that this whole community is so rooted in support that, like, why would you want to be unsupportive of someone?
Yeah, I think that's the thing. That's the hardest part I have.
That's where we get our strength, is all of our support and all of our love for each other.
Also, if you think about it like that, we're just building numbers.
Yeah.
So, like, we're becoming a stronger fucking army the
100%.
more, like, people we take on to be like, cool. So instead of, like, excluding people, being like, oh, wait, you want to be straight and also be part of the queer community? Yes.
I would also like to say,
yes.
like, honestly, with how things are going in this country right now, especially the gay community, especially the young gay community, needs us now more than ever.
Yeah.
So, show up.
Yep. Because, like, I consider Caboose to be part of the queer community. He
100%.
considers himself to be part of it because he's like, well, I'm obviously part of it.
Caboose is surrounded by gay people all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. All of his closest friends are queer.
I know. All of the people we hang out with are queer, and he's the one straight person. His favorite joke as a fucking cis white male.
Straight white.
Yes, is to say that he is a minority.
Finally, for once.
Yeah. He's like, it's really hard being a minority here. And that's like, his favorite joke, because he's never gets to make that joke.
Never.
Except that is the life he lives, is that the rest of us are like, oh, okay.
Yeah. We welcome you guys with open arms, please. And again,
I love that you're sobbing.
Yes, because I love this community so much. You think I give a shit about making any more bracelets? No, but I do this because I love our community. I love the gay community, and I want people to have fun, silly bracelets at Pride.
They are really silly.
Yeah, they're great. You guys are gonna love them. Fuck.
Yeah. I'm fixing P's to turn them into F, so that way I can have a butt stuff bracelet. Because I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Oh my gosh.
Do you have anything else to say about Pride or Pride Month?
One last thing to say about Pride. If you're not ready to come out, that's okay. We're here for you. This is a safe community. And if you are ready to come out, please come through. Go to Pride. Dress your best. I want to see all the colors. I want to see everything. I want to see you being confident and being yourself and being safe and just safe and supported. I want you to feel supported. Lean towards the people who support you. And go to the Emerson if you're in Reno.
Yeah, their drag show is amazing.
Their drag show is fucking phenomenal.
And support queer businesses.
Yes.
Like, if you want to support the community and you're like, I don't know where to start. Like, I am a person that identifies as straight and I don't have any gay friends. But we do make the best friends.
Yeah, we do.
So if you want to find, like, queer individuals that you feel like you can be safe with, then support queer businesses. Yeah. Seek them out, find them, and support them. And we'll have a couple, like, links to businesses that we know around town 100%. That are indeed queer friendly and queer businesses.
100%.
And on that just leads me to say, what is your win for the week as you dry your tears?
My win for the week is crying on the podcast yet again. No. My win for the week is just letting myself go on a tirade about people trying to invalidate bisexual people. If you're bisexual and you haven't had a sexual experience with someone of the same gender, that doesn't make you any less valid. And I want you to know that you're valid in my eyes and I love you.
Yep. That's my win. How about we don't invalidate anybody? If someone says they are something, let them be that thing.
Yes.
It doesn't fucking hurt you. As long as they are not harming individuals, let them be whatever the fuck it is. Like, if you want to be a pony, be a pony.
Be a goddamn cheetah.
If you want to be a pony, don't be a cheetah. Be a pony.
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. I could not resist.
My win for the week, I went to the gym today. Yeah, and trained with our friends, and I had fun, even though it's always still kind of nerve-wracking going somewhere new. Yeah. And then you're kind of my safety belt, and I didn't have you either.
I was working.
Yeah, you were tattooing, and I went to the gym.
Conveniently missing out on GHD sit-ups as well.
Oh, dude, I fucking love GHD sit-ups. That was the best part.
I don't.
And I guess more accurately, my win for that is going and then letting myself just have fun.
Yay.
Where I knew that, like, okay, my partner probably wants to see me do toe to bar, but instead I was like, I want to do GHD, because the last time we walked in that gym, I was like eyeballing him, and it's like the fucking giant heart emoji eyeball. I'm like, I just want to get on on a GHD.
Yep.
And so I let myself play, and I looked like a fucking psychopath, just
I love it.
grinning from ear to ear on the GHD.
That is a little bit scary when you do see people working out while they're smiling.
Oh my God, I smiled that whole workout. I know that I look nuts. And that's the first time that coach has met me, and I'm just there like, oh my God, this is amazing.
It's scary in the best way, because when I see people smiling, Rachel does this too. She smiles a lot when she works out. I'm always like, I don't want to fuck with her. Like, I'm not fucking with those people.
Yeah, dude, it was great.
Y'all are crazy strong. I don't want to do this.
Yeah. I guess actually I have another fucking win, because we didn't do wins last week.
We did not.
My other win is just accepting my ADHD-ness. So like today I was cleaning the house and like doing groceries and everything, and like you came home and the house looked like a tornado had been through, and I was just fucking stoked to like just let it. And I'm very much not like, I'm removing more and more masks every day and just working on that. And it comes from a place of like self-love, of the more I understand my ADHD, the more I get to then say, hey, this is how this is. And if I want to not be able to focus on anything, not that I want to, but if I can't focus on anything and I have to do 17 things all right now, that's okay.
Yep.
And just being like, no one else is going to fucking be mad about it. So like, why am I? And if you are mad about it, fuck off. I don't want you in my life.
100%.
But like anyone that loves me, you come in, you're just like, ooh, you're getting a lot done in here.
Yeah.
And then you told me you were grateful. So like, that was my win, was just being like, I'm just going to fucking let ADHD rule the roost today.
Incredibly grateful for all you do and your ADHD. I'm very grateful for your ADHD.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have to do another win because you missed last week.
I know, I did miss last week.
I just forgot.
Other win would be, scheduling time to play my video game.
Yeah.
That's just it. I really get hung up on playing video games, especially when my room is messy. It's a big deal for me to make sure that like my room is prime and pristine before I play video games. But then I realize how much of that is just me just like slightly sabotaging my own self fun, you know?
Yeah. I also wonder where that comes from.
I do have a lot of weird things about like having fun, little hang-ups about like, I feel really guilty when I go out drinking and I talk to people. And then when I come home, I'm like, oh my God, I'm an asshole. But I'm not. It's very weird.
Yeah, no.
Yes.
You are really, really nice when you're drunk.
Thank you. I'm that drunk bitch for sure. I'm that girl.
Yeah. I'm that one that is in the like bathroom with you. Like, you are the prettiest thing in the whole world.
100%. Yeah. I think it's scheduling time to play my video game, even though my room's a disaster right now. Yeah. Bramble. You guys should play Bramble and talk to me about it if you play it, because I'm having the time of my life. Okay, that's it.
All right, perfect. We love you guys, and we will see you back next week, where once again, we don't know what we're going to talk about, so it could be anything. If you have ideas, requests, anything like that, just shoot us a message.
Help us out.
Or help us out.
Help me.
We love you guys so much, and we'll see you back next week.
Bye.